Odense, Denmark is a beautiful little city. It's located on the garden island of Funen, about a 2-hour drive from the capital city of Copenhagen. Odense is the birthplace and childhood home of famed fairy tale author Hans Christian Andersen. It's where Joseph Michael Olsen, our great-grandfather, served his mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in 1907. Going to church here in Odense. There's the church building. And this is the church that the address for the old Olsen family home belongs to this ward. So it's also in this area that Joseph Olsen's father, Hans Jorgensen Olsen, was born and grew up in the nearby town of Andebølle, and where he, along with his parents, learned about and accepted the restored gospel of Jesus Christ, which prompted them to immigrate to America and settle in Spanish Fork, Utah in 1868. Emma and I came here on a journey to discover our ancestral home and connect with those who came before us. One of the things we liked about visiting museums and historical homes in Odense is that we could get a feel for what a typical home would be like in the 1850s and 60s when our Olsen ancestors lived here and met the missionaries. It helped us to feel more connected to them, to see examples of how they would have lived.
Is that comfortable, Emma?
Yeah. So this bed in a laborer's home around 1870 was usually for several children to sleep in.
54. You open the door and what's inside?
There's stuff like smoked meat and peas and porridge and rye bread. Doesn't that sound delicious?
It honestly does right now.
Are you hungry?
Yeah.
So we just got done exploring Odense. We walked all around, saw the place where Hans Christian Andersen was born.
Turn right onto Rugensvej.
We saw a museum of culture and history of Odense, and then we also saw there some cool things from the 1850s and 1870s that a laborer would have had in their house. Like, for example, a trundle bed that the kids would have slept in, which Emma took a nap in.
Yeah, that was nice.
And then we saw like an old pantry from the time with some of the foods that they might have eaten. So that was cool because now we're going to Andebølle and we're gonna see if we can find the old house that Hans Olsen was born in, that his father Jorgen Olsen purchased.
Today, some things that were cool to me was there was this exhibit that had some super old like tools and stuff from the Vikings, because that's like where that's kind of like the origins of Odense. It was a Viking settlement at first, so it was really cool to see like the old Viking tools and things.
We're currently on the island of Funen. Figured out how to pronounce it.
Yeah.
It's called the Garden Island of Denmark, like the Garden of Denmark. And that's because it has so many fruit trees and lots of agriculture. So it'll be interesting to get out to Andebølle and see what the landscape looks like and what kind of land the Olsens came from.
In 500 meters, turn right onto Roldevej.
Where this is taking us, but hopefully we can find it. We're like out in the middle of the country. I hope this is the right address. I got it off of a Facebook post that Steven posted 4 years ago when he found this house on Google Maps. So hopefully it's correct.
this it?
It's got a new roof.
Is it the yellow one?
I think it's that yellow house, 224. Yeah, number 224. What'd you say, Emma?
I said that this is like way out in the country.
Yeah, kind of like Salem,
Yeah,
except even more.
Even more.
So I am standing in front of this house, number 224 Andebølle. This house was first lived in by Jorgensen Olsen and his wife Kirsten. I think that's how you say her name. And their son, Hans Olsen, was born in this house. And when he was 11 years old, in 1865, three missionaries from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints came and taught their family. And they were Christians already. His mother especially was very religious. She welcomed the missionaries, and they were taught and got baptized. And then in 1868, when Hans was 13 years old, they left this house and they sold it, and they came to America on a ship and then crossed the plains as pioneers. 40 years later, about 40 years later, in 1907, Hans's son, Joseph Olsen, was called as a missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints to this same area, to Denmark. He was in Odense. We were reading in his journal how he took a train to Odense, and then he got on a bike and he rode his bike for 5 miles and came to this area right here. And then he started going around from house to house, knocking on doors and asking, trying to find the home where his father was born, his father Hans. Finally, he was able to find this house, and the person that his father's family had sold the house to still owned it. And it's still here. It's a little bit more modernized. I think the walls are still the same, but it has a different roof now. Look at that shiny new tile roof. I think a couple years ago it still had a thatch roof. We've seen a couple of those thatch roofs around here. Oh, there's one down there. But most of the houses don't have them anymore. So there's the old Olsen's home. And here's like a neighboring house. But see, this roof is what the old Olsen home used to have, but they got a new roof. All right, Em, what do you think?
I think it's really cool. It's weird because it feels like kind of homey, even though it's in a country where I've never been before in my life, like super far away. But it's cool to think that if those three missionaries hadn't come and they hadn't accepted the gospel and moved to Spanish Fork, Utah, we wouldn't be here. I think it's really pretty out here in the country. I like it. I can kind of see how going to Spanish Fork, Utah, they probably would have felt at home with the countryside and the fields and stuff. And even the weather kind of feels like kind of like Utah. The people in Denmark are really nice. They all speak English, most of them, which is nice. I like it here a lot. It feels like we belong here.
And the other cool story is that Joseph Olsen also decided that he was going to walk about 5 miles away to find a photographer who could come and take a picture of him in front of this house so that he could take that photograph back to the United States. And he thought that that was like an important enough thing and a cool enough thing that he needed to go and get a photograph taken in 1907. So it's been 112 years since our great-grandfather came to this house. That's so cool. It's been 112 years.
Yeah.
And it's been 151 years since our Danish ancestors decided to leave their homes forever and immigrate to the United States because of their testimony of the gospel of Jesus Christ. And so it's cool to come back here and to see where they came from and to think that their testimony of the gospel was strong enough that they decided to leave the land that they knew, the language that they knew, and their beautiful home and come to America to join the saints. So, and here we are. Still members of the church. Thank you to them.
It's really cool. It makes me even more excited and it makes me want to go on a mission in a year even more now. Because, I mean, because of that, we are where we are. It's just a cool display of faith that they left everything and decided to follow the saints. Because this is a beautiful place. I can't imagine that it would have been easy. Well, we made it to our Airbnb. We had to... we lost service out here because we're kind of out in the middle of nowhere. We had to use street signs. We had to use street signs and house numbers to find it ourselves without the GPS.
Wow, what was that like, Emma? You had an olden times experience. We're staying in an Airbnb that's like 2 or 3 minute drive away from where our ancestors used to live.
Pretty much this neighborhood that they lived in.
Yeah, see this? Skov and there's Andebølle. So it's kind of fun. It was really cool to walk around, explore, and spend the night in an Airbnb less than a mile from the house where our ancestors lived. As we explored the area, we imagined what life must have been like for them living here all those years ago. All the buildings out here look really old.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, the slugs in Denmark are huge. The slug? No! Don't step on it! Oh my gosh!
I wasn't actually gonna step on it.
This building, if it was built in 1858, like it says, it would have been here when the Olsens lived here, in this area. Hi! You're so pretty. Do you like living out here in Andebølle?
There's the house behind me. It's our last morning here in Andebølle. We have to go to the airport now, but I was just thinking how this place is a sacred family place because not only is it where our ancestors lived, where our great-great-grandfather Hans Olsen was born, where his father Jorgensen Olsen was a tailor, but it's also where his father and his mother learned the gospel and developed their testimony of Jesus Christ and of his restored gospel and of Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon. Like, this area is where they were when they first learned about that. They learned about it and studied it and decided that it was true and important enough to take their whole family and move to a whole new land. So it's pretty cool to be here. So goodbye to Denmark.